This time, on James's hobby desk, we are painting the Red Guard from Gloomhaven, Jaws of the Lion. The primary colours of the Red Guard are naturally shades of red, but I'm starting with Doombull Brown from Citadel, which is a nice warm reddish brown, and I'm using this for all the layers of fur or skin visible on the model. So the legs under the armour plating, the face, and of course the tail. And because this is a base coat, I'm quite happy to go over the edges a bit and cover up the straps on the legs, for example, because we'll be touching these areas up later. The areas of fur under the armour on the arms were a bit tricky to get to and still stay on camera shot, so I apologise for that, but they've just been done the same way with a base coat of Doombull Brown. Next up, I'm going to paint all the armour and weapons of the model, and I'm using plate mail metal for this from the Army Painter. But wait, you say, isn't this a red guard, not a silver guard? Don't worry, all will be revealed shortly. As usual, I've swapped to a different brush for metallic paint, just because the particles in the paint can be tough on bristles, and I like to keep my good brushes as best quality as I can, and I'm using a dry palette for this, just to avoid either contaminating the sponge on my wet palette or overwatering the metallic paint and splitting it. But this basically just comes down to now going round and making sure I pick out all the areas in this as a slightly dark silver style colour, and that is the armour, the helmet, the shield, and the hook and chain. Again, we're still at the base coat stage, so I don't worry too much about getting little bits of silver onto the cloak, for example, and just try my best to avoid any of the areas that I've already painted. So, having finished the plate mail and tidied up a couple of areas of the Doombull Brown and on the cloak, I'm now just applying a little bit of highlighting using Army Painter's Shining Silver, and just picking out some of the more prominent edges and upward facing areas of the armour. Yes, I know, it's still not red. Hold with me. And at this point, I'm finally getting a red paint out. Specifically Khorne Red from Citadel, which is a nice deep red, and I'll be using that for the interior areas of the cloak. And again, just trying to get neat coverage as best I can inside. And for the outside of the cloak, I'm using Mephiston Red from Citadel. Again, it's been thinned slightly to get a nice smooth even cover, and just apply this quickly and neatly so as not to get any on the areas such as the chain there, which we painted in the silver already. So this is where the magic happens, and by the magic I mean Citadel's Blood Angels Red contrast paint. I'm just coming over and applying this quite generously over all the areas of the armour which have already been painted plate mail metal, and the result is we get a nice sort of vibrant metallic red colour. Because this is contrast paint, it does want to be applied reasonably thickly, and it does pull away a little bit from the edges, but that just gives the impression of extreme highlights or a little bit of damage and weathering at the edges of the armour, so works out fine. I'm now going to pick out the design on the shield using Citadel's Retributor armour. Again, using brush reserve for metallics for this, and my dry palette rather than my wet palette. I'm now going to use some Nuln Oil and pick out the weapon in the figure's left hand and the chain coming off it, and this just adds a bit of depth and definition, picks out all the shadows in the chain links that I would not have the patience to do by layer painting, and adds some quick and easy detail. Now for the highlights on the cloak, I'm going to use Wild Rider Red, and just going along all the upper areas of the folds, particularly around the top of the cloak and the shoulders, but just down the prominent folds as well, and then just a bit around the sort of bottom, maybe quarter or third of the cloak, to give a bit of an impression of weathering or sort of fading, and just thinned paint there and feathering it off slightly. For the details, I'm using Eshin Grey, so this is things like the shoes, the gloves, the belt and the armour straps. Again, it's just a case of going slowly and carefully with these to make sure that the paint's going where I want it to. Doesn't need to be a tiny brush, just as long as it has a good tip and the paint will go where you want it to. Next up, I'm just going to go over the tip of the tail with Warlock Purple, which is the old Citadel colour. The modern equivalent is Screamer Pink, and just add a bit of depth of colour to the tuft on the end of the tail. As with the other characters in the set, for the base colours I'm using the same colours as the character tokens. For the Red Guard, this is naturally red, so I'm cleaning up the base with a layer of Mephiston Red to get a nice clean even finish, and then adding increasing quantities of Wild Rider Red to provide an off-centre highlight. As usual, the base rim is going to be a neat clean black. And so the Red Guard is finished and ready to face hazards in Gloomhaven. Come back next time when I'll be showing how to paint the favourite of my figures from Jaws of the Lion, the Demolitionist. Thank you for watching James's Hobby Desk. If you've liked this video, please tick the like button and subscribe for more videos coming soon.